We're going to close out this work session and call our regular meeting to order. Roll call, Carol.
Gant.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Diamond.
Here.
Vaughn. Lindsay. Smith.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Lede.
Here.
McMillan.
Here. All right, thank you, Carol. I'd like to ask everybody to please stand for the invocation and pledge allegiance. David, do you mind leading us this evening?
Thank you. Father, we thank you for everything you give us, and we thank you for the opportunity to be here and to live in this country, Father. And I believe it's the best country on the face of the earth. And it's not because of us. It's because you've chosen to bless us. You've chosen to bless this country and the people that live here. And we thank you for that. Father, we ask that you bless us, these people here today that are working as volunteers. Give them wisdom to make decisions that are right for this community. And Father, we ask and we take comfort in the fact that you're in control and that you're sovereign in all events around the world. And Father, we ask that you help those people that are making decisions that affect the world tonight. Our leaders, state, local, national, every place. Father, give them wisdom and strength to make the right decision. Father, every meeting here, we feel the need and the privilege to ask you to protect those people that protect us, our first responders in this community, but all around the world, those people that protect the very freedoms that we exercise here tonight and give us the right and the privilege to say the pledge that we're fixing to say. And ask that you bless us. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, David. Before we get started here, I'd like to introduce our newest commissioner on the board, Cody Ledette. He's sitting here on the end. Cody, I don't know how hard they must have twisted your arm to get you up here, but we're happy to have you.
It didn't take too much. I'm easily persuaded.
All right. Let's see. Do we have any city council report?
Yes, sir. We've had a number of ordinances and resolutions passed since the last time we met. We did contract with Thompson Engineering for design of the pickleball courts that'll be installed in the near future. We did approve a mutual aid agreement between Baldwin County and the City of Spanish Fort for assistance during natural disasters. We appointed Mr. Cleve Gant to the 3 Mill Education Tax Commission. Glad to have him. We've disposed of some surplus property from the police department. We settled, we accepted some opioid settlements, which was a good thing, some extra income. We, speaking of income, we did approve moving forward on the $15 million bond for the various improvements that the City Council's looking at. We've approved updates to both the city personnel manual and the police department policies and procedures manuals. And we did approve a SAFER grant to help the fire department hire staff.
All right. Thank you, Kurt.
Just a couple other things. Keep an eye out for. We got some road repair projects that will be going on in the next week or two. They've already started on them on Quezon at Bull Run and Spanish Main at Bull Run and Quezon. Who's that other one? Casey, you remember what the other one was? David, you remember? It's on Quezon. All of them are right there, Quezon, Spanish Main and Bull Run. So it's just aging infrastructure that's causing the issues, and we repaved the Spanish Main coming down that hill. Noticed it was sloughing off, so to be taking care of that. Do have one other event coming up, March 26th. The Eastern Shore Choral Society will be performing here at the Community Center at 5 p.m. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. All right, we have some minutes to get approved here. January 30th work session, February 13th work session, and February 13th regular session. Do we have any errors or changes? Minutes stand approved as written. All right, we have some old business here. We have agenda item 221201. This is application for a site plan. It's Baldwin Bone and Joint, a doctor's office. It's at 10701 Eastern Shore Boulevard, Lot 1, Baldwin Bone and Joint subdivision. The applicant is Overstreet and Associates on behalf of Baldwin Bone and Joint. Casey, your staff report, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this applicant is proposing to develop the site to be used as a new doctor's office with the proposed structure totaling 10,300 square feet. The current site plan is intended to be accessed at a single access point from Eastern Shore Boulevard that aligns with the existing median cut through and is shared via a common access easement with the previously approved Alpha Care on the lot directly to the north. There's also a pass-through parking area that will allow additional ingress-egress to the adjoining site to the west of the proposed structure. The existing conditions within the vicinity of the subject property are typically medium to high traffic commercial uses similar to what is being proposed at this site. Because the applicant is proposing a business use in conformance with its current zoning classification, and because the use conforms largely to its surrounding uses and the intended use type for the overall center, impact is expected to be minimal. The subject property is identified on the comprehensive plan's future land use map as Highway Regional Commercial, which does accommodate the proposed use for this area. The proposed use does also conform to the current zoning district of B3 General Business. Since the site totals more than 1 acre, an ADEM NPDES stormwater permit is required for the site in addition to the land disturbance permit required by the city. The applicant has provided a tracking number for the NOI submission to ADEM, and staff has reviewed the drainage plans as submitted and is satisfied that all drainage concerns have been met. The applicant has requested a waiver to the requirements outlined in the landscape ordinance, which you'll find in your packet here, specifically regarding required total tree count due to the location on site of an existing Alabama Power easement over the site. There's the landscape plan. That does not allow for over or understory tree placement within this area. The site overall would require a total of 33 trees to be placed on site, 25.1 of those being for the parking acreage requirement of 10 trees per acre. 25.1 of those being for the acreage requirement of 10 trees per acre, and 7.2 of those being for the parking count requirement of 1 tree per 10 parking spaces. Total number of trees provided in the most recent revision of the landscape plan is 15, 7 of which are bald cypress and 8 of which are magnolia. The applicant has offered to donate the remaining trees required to the city in order to be utilized in other areas due to the limited site availability at this location. Zoning ordinance requires medical, dental, and health offices and clinics provide 1 space for each 200 square feet of floor area used for offices and similar purposes. Because the entirety of the proposed building footprint is equal to 10,300 square feet, the maximum required parking for this development will be a total of 52 spaces. The current site plan proposes a total of 72 spaces, which well exceeds the maximum requirement. Because the proposed use should not require large volumes of ingress-egress at one time, and the site is accessed internal to the existing shopping center, impact on traffic is expected to be minimal. Staff does not feel that a traffic impact analysis is needed for the current development. Staff has reviewed all submitted information regarding this application and has found all required documentation to be accounted for and in compliance with all applicable ordinances and regulations, with the exception of the landscape plan. Therefore, should the Planning Commission be in agreement with the request for waiver of the landscape ordinance as previously stated, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve agenda item 221201, application for site plan approval for Baldwin Bone and Joint.
All right, thank you, Casey. We'll open it up for discussion.
I have one question on the 17 trees. Who made the commitment? Was it the engineer of record, or was it the builder or the owner of the property that volunteered to 17 trees for future reference.
From what I understand, it's the owner through the engineer. I don't know that we've had direct conversations with the owner, but their engineer who is representing them on this project has stated that they've agreed to it, so.
David, do we need something in writing on that, or something that can be attached to this?
I've got an email. I have an email from their engineer that they did confirm with their client that they're okay to provide the trees.
Can we make that part of the record on this, David?
I think we just do that, like you just said. For purposes of the record, we can attach this email stating that they have agreed to provide those trees. I wouldn't make that a condition of the approval, though, as we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But yes, I would say we make that email a part of the record so that we've got a record, and we'll know in the future. I'm assuming they're going to do exactly what they said they would do. We'll know.
Faces change, people forget.
All right, any other comments?
Real quick, one quick comment. He did mention that they'd like to have y'all's opinion on what types of trees are desired, and when those trees are obtained, where to put them to eventually be planted. So one thing that they're not willing to do that they've communicated to me is to actually plant the trees, but just to provide them.
No, I have a problem with that.
All right, any other comments?
So, Mr. Chairman, Casey may have said this, but just to make sure we're clear, if y'all are in favor of making making a motion to approve, we would suggest that you make a motion to approve the site plan and also a waiver from the tree requirement based on the plan that's submitted, the landscape plan submitted.
All right, any further discussion? All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve case number 221201, site plan for Ball and Bona Joint, with a waiver to the landscape ordinance regarding total required tree count based on the landscape plan provided.
All right, we have a first, we have a second. Second. Any discussion on the motion?
I thought I thought we had to include the trees. A notice.
Yeah, do we
about
need
the
to make a
trees.
motion based on the letter attached?
Yeah.
No, we don't make a motion based on the trees. What we're doing is taking we said we're going to make a part of the record the email that they sent saying they would provide them.
All right, any other discussion? All right, roll call, Carol.
Gant,
Here, yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Lede,
Yes.
Yes.
McMillan.
All right, motion's approved. All right, now we'll move on to new business. We have agenda item 230301. This is application for site plan. This is Wolf Funeral Home at 6470B Spanish Fort Boulevard. Applicant is Barton and Schumer Engineering, LLC, on behalf of Spanish Fort Plaza, LLC. Casey, your staff report, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this applicant is proposing to renovate the existing structure on site to be used as a funeral home. Current site plan includes closing in of the current drive-through to be utilized as enclosed parking. Additional parking spots to be added in the outer lanes of the drive-through and landscaping of the site in order to meet current requirements. All other modifications to the site are interior to the existing structure. The existing conditions within the vicinity of the subject property are typically medium to high traffic commercial uses, similar to what is being proposed at this site. Because the applicant is proposing a business use in conformance with its current zoning classification, and because the use conforms largely to its surrounding uses, impact is expected to be minimal. The subject property is identified on the comprehensive plan's future land use map as general business, which does accommodate the proposed use for this area. The proposed use does also conform to the current zoning district of B3 general business. Since the site plan involves no change to impervious surface on the site, a drainage plan was not required with the site plan application. Landscape plan in compliance with the current landscape and tree protection ordinance has been submitted. Because the proposed use should not require large volumes of ingress, egress at one time, and the site is access internal to the existing shopping center, impact on traffic is expected to be minimal. Staff does not feel the traffic impact analysis is needed for the current development. Staff has reviewed all submitted information regarding this application and has found all required documentation to be accounted for and in compliance with all applicable ordinances and regulations. Therefore, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve agenda item 230301, application for site plan approval for Wolf Funeral Home.
All right, thank you, Casey. We'll open it up for discussion.
I'd just like to say, I really appreciate these excellent renderings. These are probably the best I've seen since I've served here.
All right, any other discussion? All right, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I motion that agenda item 230301 be approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Roll call. Carol, please.
Gant,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ledee,
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
All right, motion's approved. All right, we have agenda item 230302. This is an application for zoning change. We have a public hearing on this agenda item. If anybody here wishes to speak on this agenda item, Carol will have a sign-in sheet for you. If you would, please go print your name and your address, and I'll call on you and come up to the podium there and state your name and address, and we'll be glad to hear from you. All right, this is from an R1 to a B3 on 0 Old Mobile Road. The applicant is Tony Seth Williams. Casey, your staff report, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this applicant is proposing to rezone two adjacent parcels located between Old Mobile Road and Spanish Fort Boulevard. The first westernmost parcel is approximately 0.38 acres, and the second parcel to the east of the first is approximately 1 acre. The proposed use for the application has been given as office space for roofing contractor. The existing conditions within the vicinity of the subject property are typically low to medium density single-family residential, primarily in Baldwin County and the city of Daphne's jurisdictions. The property directly to the east of the subject parcels is currently shown to be operating as a commercial delivery service, and Jerry's Sporting Goods is located another 500 feet past that. Other than the two businesses mentioned, the immediate vicinity of the subject properties appears to be either undeveloped or residential uses. The subject properties were not identified on the comprehensive plan's future land use map because this area was not located with the city limits at the time the comprehensive plan was created.
All right, thank you, Casey. Will we have any discussion? All right, discussion is closed. We'll have a public hearing. Anybody here wish to speak? All right, public hearing's closed. Any further discussion? All right, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we send a positive recommendation to City Council for agenda item 230302, application for zoning change from R1 to B3.
Do I have a second?
Nancy.
Did you get that, Carol? That was Nancy. All right. Any discussion on the motion? All right, roll call, Carol.
Gant,
Yes.
Davis, Diamond,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ledee, McMillan.
Yes.
All right, motion's approved. All right, we have agenda item 230303, application for zoning change. We'll have a public hearing on this agenda item. Same format. If anybody wishes to speak, come up there to Carol and sign the sheet, please. This is from a R1 to a B1. It's 10284 US Highway 31. The applicant is Zerzor Companies LLC on behalf of HT Real Estate LLC. Casey, staff report, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this applicant is proposing to rezone the property located at the corner of US Highway 31 and Eastern Shore Boulevard at 10284 US Highway 31. The subject parcel was recently annexed into the corporate limits of Spanish Fort as R1 and totals approximately 2.12 acres. The proposed use for this application has been given as medical office, specifically an orthodontist. The existing conditions within the vicinity of the subject property are typically general business to light industrial type uses, except for Rockwell Elementary School, which is located directly across US Highway 31 from this property. Due to the existing uses in the surrounding area, the proposed use as a medical office is expected to have little to no impact on the area. The subject property was not identified on the comprehensive plan's future land use map because this area was not located within the city limits at the time the comprehensive plan was created. Due to the absence of any residential uses in the immediate vicinity of the subject property, as well as the surrounding existing commercial uses in combination with the requested zoning and uses being a lower impact zoning type, it is staff's opinion that a rezoning of the property to B1 professional business would be in conformity to the surrounding area. Therefore, staff recommends the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council to approve agenda item 230303, application for zoning change from R1 to B1 for 10284 US Highway 31.
All right, thank you, Casey. All right, we'll open it up for discussion. All right, we'll have our public hearing. Anybody here wish to speak? All right, public hearing's closed. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, item 23303 for a recommendation to the City Council for rezoning to R1 to B1.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? All right, roll call, Carol.
Gant,
Yes.
Davis, Diamond,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ledee, McMillan.
Yes.
All right, motion's approved. I will have agenda item 230304. This is application for site plan, Longleaf Recovery. It's 1000 Town Center Avenue, Sane Associates on behalf of LIV Development. Casey, staff report, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this applicant is proposing to develop the site to be used as a new wellness and rehab treatment center with the proposed structure totaling approximately 7,000 square feet. The current site plan is intended to be accessed at a single access point from Cypress Way. The existing conditions within the vicinity of the subject property are typically medium to high traffic commercial uses, similar to what is being proposed at this site. Because the applicant is proposing a business use in conformance with its current zoning classification, and because the use conforms largely to its surrounding uses and the intended use type for the overall center, impact is expected to be minimal. The subject property is identified on the comprehensive plan's future land use map as Highway Regional Commercial, which does accommodate the proposed use for this area. The proposed use does also conform to the current zoning district of B3 General Business. An ADEM NPDES stormwater permit is required for this site, in addition to the land disturbance permit required by the city and has been submitted to ADEM. The applicant has provided a tracking number for the NOI submission to ADEM, and staff has reviewed the drainage plans as submitted and is satisfied that all drainage concerns have been met. The applicant has provided a landscape plan in accordance with the landscape and tree protection ordinance. The use and square footage of the site requires a minimum of 38 parking spaces. Applicant has provided a total of 72 spaces, which includes 3 ADA compliant spaces, which far exceeds the required parking count. Because the proposed use is interior to the existing town center development and adequate turn lane geometry and signalization has been provided, and the site is accessed internal to the existing shopping center, impact on traffic is expected to be minimal. Staff is in agreement with the opinion of the traffic engineer as submitted and does not feel that a traffic impact analysis is needed for the current development. Staff has reviewed all submitted information regarding this application and has found all required documentation to be accounted for and in compliance with all applicable ordinances and regulations, with the exception, sorry, that was a typo. Regulations with the, in compliance with all applicable ordinances and regulations. Therefore, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve agenda item 230304, application for site plan approval for longleaf recovery.
All right, thank you, Casey. All right, we'll open it up for discussion. All right, discussion is closed. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve case number 230304, application for site plan.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, Carol.
Gant,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Lede,
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
All right, motion's approved. All right, agenda item 230305 has been requested to be postponed by the applicant, so we'll move along to agenda item 230306. This is an application for site plan, Wells Fargo ATM, 30500 State Highway 181. The applicant is Brad Rollins, PE, on behalf of Southern Bank Equipment and ATMs. Casey, staff report, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this applicant is proposing to renovate a portion of the existing parking area behind Belk in the Eastern Shore Center in order to construct a freestanding Wells Fargo Bank ATM. The current site plan does not include or require additional parking spaces to be added. The existing conditions within the vicinity of the subject property are typically medium to high traffic commercial uses. Because the applicant is proposing a business use in conformance with its current zoning classification, and because the use conforms largely to its surrounding areas, surrounding uses, impact is expected to be minimal. Subject property is identified on the comprehensive plan's future land use map as general business, which does accommodate the proposed use for this area. The proposed use does also conform to the current zoning district of B3 general business. Since the site plan involves no change to impervious surface on the site, a drainage plan was not required with the site plan application. Because the proposed use should not require large volumes of ingress, egress at one time, and the site is accessed internal to the existing shopping center and internal to the existing parking lot even, impact on traffic is expected to be minimal. Staff does not feel that a traffic impact analysis is needed for the current development. Staff has reviewed all submitted information regarding this application and has found all required documentation to be accounted for and in compliance with all applicable ordinances and regulations. Therefore, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve agenda item 230306, application for site plan approval for Wells Fargo ATM.
All right, thank you, Casey. All right, do we have any discussion?
Just one quick item, maybe David, you can help me with this. I have seen some of these little portable kiosk type ATMs. I saw a few in Mobile that just kind of got abandoned, whether they were not used or, the bank's no longer in service. But they just kind of created a little bit of an eyesore, and they were never removed. They're just sitting there kind of abandoned. Is there any kind of provision that we could have if they ever close that down, they have to remove it?
I'm trying to think how the zoning ordinance addresses that. This is just site plan review, Casey? Okay. Normally within the site plan, in the zoning ordinance, it talks about abandonment of use for purposes of reversion back and non-conforming. I don't think we address that per se, but I wouldn't have a problem under this. It's kind of unusual, is making that a condition, that if it's abandoned or not used for a period of time, that it has to be removed. Because this is something that's a little unusual.
That's a good catch.
Are you saying include that in the motion?
Yeah,
Would be appropriate?
I think it'd be appropriate to say if it's abandoned or not used for a period of time, give them some time, maybe 6 months, a year, whatever you want to pick, then it has to be removed by the property owner.
All right, anybody else?
Condition of the approval.
One other quick question. Is that a light right there? Is that what that is?
Like a tree.
Or is that a tree or what? What, is there any additional lighting being provided at this site, or is it just what's already there in the parking lot?
I think they're just utilizing existing parking lights, parking lot lights. There should be adequate lighting for that area. Now, whether they're working or not, I can't guarantee that, but.
Just from a safety standpoint, people going to get out cash.
Yeah, Matthew's looking at it now. It is a light pole, so there's one right there next to it.
All right, any other discussion? All right, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I motion that agenda item 230306, application for site plan for Wells Fargo ATM be approved.
And Mr. Chairman, I would recommend,
With condition?
With the condition, if you don't mind,
Okay.
that if the property is no longer used for that purpose or is otherwise not occupied or abandoned for a period of, you want to say 6 months or a year?
6 months.
6 months, then it has to be removed by the owner.
So be.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion on the motion? All right, roll call, Carol?
Gant,
Yes.
Davis,
Here, yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Lede,
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
All right, motion's approved. All right, we have agenda item 230307. This is an application for a minor plat. We'll have a public hearing on this agenda item. It's Garrison Ridge, lots 56 and 57, Garrison Ridge subdivision. The applicant is Sawgrass Consulting, LLC, on behalf of JBL Properties, LTD. Casey, your staff report, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the subject parcels are located along the cul-de-sac of Parapet Court, the southern cul-de-sac, I guess that is, Parapet Court and Garrison Ridge subdivision. The subdivision application proposes to combine the existing two parcels into one resulting lot equaling approximately 0.83 acres. The resulting lot will retain frontage on Parapet Court and will exceed the minimum lot size for the current zoning. Current zoning of the subject parcels is R2 medium density single family residential. All parcels under consideration are currently under ownership of the same property owner. Staff has reviewed all submitted information regarding this application and has found all required documentation to be accounted for and in compliance with all applicable ordinances and regulations. Therefore, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve agenda item 230307, application for minor subdivision plat approval for replat of lots 56 and 57 in Garrison Ridge subdivision.
All right, thank you, Casey. All right, we have any discussion? All right, we'll have a public hearing. Anybody here wish to speak? All right, public hearing's closed. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. We approve agenda item 230307, application for minor plat.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call, Carol.
Gant,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Lede,
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
All right, motion's approved. All right, we have agenda item 230308. This is a regulation review. We'll have a public hearing on this agenda item. This is amending section 6.4, table of permitted uses and conditions of ordinance number 51-96, adding uses related to go-kart tracks in the B3 general business and B4 major business districts. David, you want to take this one?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, at the last work session, we had an applicant and a representative of the applicant appear at the work session for the purpose of discussing the possibility of constructing a mini golf course and golf go-kart track adjacent to the Eastern Shore lanes at the Eastern Shore Center. Upon review of the zoning ordinance, we have a section that includes amusement and recreation services, and it lists numerous items or approved uses in that amusement district, including amusement park, arcade, archery range, batting cages, golf course, miniature golf course, etc. But there was no clearly analogous use for go-karts in that district. And so the golf course use, mini use, is approved can be approved with Planning Commission approval in B3 and B4. And the discussion was, depending on the location of this proposed use of go-karts, you might want to have some control over that, especially in residential areas or transition areas. So the idea is there'll be 2 uses recommended for addition to the table. One is go-kart track 1, and that would be approval for electric-powered go-karts only. The discussion was that they produce less noise, less fumes, and so there'd be a little bit, depending on where it's located, that might be more appropriate with Planning Commission approval in B3 and B4. And then go-kart track 2 could be either or, gas or electric, with Planning Commission approval as well. And this would be a recommendation to the City Council to amend the zoning ordinance to basically enable this use, and then ultimately, if this was approved and the amendment made, the applicant would come forward with a Planning Commission request for that site in particular.
All right, thank you, David. Any discussion?
So in the future, if we did make this change and we had a property that was zoned B3, then we would have the option to approve for that particular use. What happens, what am I trying to say? I put some electric go-karts in there, and then a year from now I want to stick some gas-powered. I guess that's just a compliance.
That's why we broke it out that way. Go-kart track 1 is only electric. So if we give them a go-kart track 1 approval, that's all they can use. If they try to bring anything else, they're in violation of the zoning district, and they could be shut down.
And so if they close up shop and then somebody comes back and it's already B3, or then it wasn't approved for gas, they would have to come back to us to get it approved for that use. Okay.
That's right.
Gotcha.
And we've had some discussion. We don't normally require a public hearing at this point for site plan approval, but there is some discussion, and in this case we might, because of the location of the neighboring properties, but that'll be something we'll talk about in the future.
All right, any other discussion? All right, we'll have our public hearing. Anybody here wish to speak? All right, public hearing is closed. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for 230-308. I guess this is going to be a recommendation to the City Council for changing our table of permitted uses 6.4 to include electric go-karts and gas-powered go-karts and B3.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
For the record, it's B3 and B4, Planning Commission approval.
As moved, yep.
All right, anything else? Any other discussion? All right, roll call, Carol. Excuse me, that was Fonda. You seconded, right?
Gant,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Leday,
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
All right, motion's approved. All right, we have agenda item 230309. This is a regulation review again we'll have a public hearing once again. This is amending section 7.6 parking requirements for all districts, adding parking requirements for City of Spanish Fork government services facilities. David, you want to take this one again?
Yes, sir. The zoning ordinance in section 7.6 sets forth parking requirements for all districts. And it basically lists types of uses, and the type of use dictates the number of spaces per square foot or multiples of that. There is no specific allocation for fire stations, fire training facilities, or apparatus storage, or public works facilities owned and operated by the city. There is a catch-all in section 7.630, as you see, that would cover 300 square foot for gross floor area, but the application to certain municipal uses of that type of square footage would create unnecessary parking. For example, in the design plans for the new Spanish Fort Fire Station number 1, they're proposing, I believe it's 29 parking spaces based on the design recommended by the engineers and the proposed occupancy use, people using it. But under the parking standards, if that was to apply, it would require 46 or more spaces. The main factor being that so much of the fire station itself is just bays where the trucks are parked. But if that's applied, it would unnecessarily run the parking up. In addition, on J Drive, the City Council and the Fire Department proposed to construct a warehouse facility to store fire apparatus and fire trucks. There'll be very little time for occupancy of that building, but depending on the size, it could have 20 or 30 parking spaces that would never be used. Likewise, the fire station number 4, I believe it is, Mayor, that on Jimmy Faulkner Boulevard, Doleve, is proposed to include a training center as well. And so, again, those parking requirements would be onerous based on the proposed use. The same would apply to the Public Works facility that's going to be located at the old fire station. Most of that is going to be just storage for equipment. And so this would propose to require one space for 400 square feet as opposed to one space for 300 square feet for those types of uses. Because the particular type of use, specifically as it relates to the warehouse on J Drive, really won't require much in and out and occupancy, both of these would give the Planning Commission the discretion to reduce the parking requirements based on recommendations by the city engineer and the fire chief as it relates to fire department, stations, training facilities, and the city engineer and public works director as it relates to a proposed public works facility. And this would be an amendment to the zoning ordinance, and it's a recommendation to the city council.
All right, thank you, David. All right, we have any discussion? All right, we'll have a public hearing. Anybody wish to speak? All right, public hearing's closed. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 230309 to forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for amending ordinance 5196.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? All right, roll call, Carol.
Gant,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Lindsay, Smith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Lede, McMillan.
Yes.
All right, motion's approved. All right, we now come to our public participation part of our meeting. Anybody here wish to come up and speak? Anything on their mind? All right, closed. We have some announcements. The next regular meeting of the Planning Commission will be held Monday, April 10th, 2023. A work session will begin at 6 p.m. in the multipurpose room of the Spanish Fork Community Center, followed by the regular meeting at 6:30 p.m. The next informal work session of the Planning Commission will be held Monday, March 27th, 2023 at 6 p.m. The submission deadline for the April 2023 regular meeting agenda is Tuesday, March 14th, 2023 at 12 noon. All right, any other comments or announcements anybody would like to make? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? All right, this meeting is adjourned.